Welcome to Be a Blessing with Mitch and Windi, a no-holds-barred guide to being the best you can be so that you can be a blessing to your family, friends, and everyone you meet. Be a Blessing is about life, from parenting to building a business and building yourself. Mitch and Windi will cover it all. So buckle up and prepare to get uncomfortable, because growth only comes from the other side of a challenge.
Welcome to Be a Blessing with Mitch and Windi, episode number 7. 7, which episode 7, we're going to talk about 17 years of marriage. It's like serendipity, right? Episode 7, talk about 17 years of marriage. And in case you didn't know, Windi and I have been married 17 years. Matter of fact, the last podcast we shot, we kind of announced that, right?
Yeah.
And then
I led with it.
Our actual anniversary was on Saturday, May 29th. So all the gifts, if you'd like to send gifts, we will have an address you can mail them to. all the gifts. We would love gifts. What's 17 years? What anniversary is that? Isn't there like one for every year? Is that the anniversary of wood? Anniversary of...
It's 8.
It's 8?
Yeah.
Is this episode 8?
It's episode 8. Yeah.
Thanks, Frank. We had everybody convinced. Well, there goes
all
that.
All that serendipity. Well, whatever.
All right. Well,
17 years spent at the ball field and at a Casa Ole. Very romantic Saturday night.
Actually, the food was really good. So, real quick, Windi got me some really fancy cologne that a lot of other dudes are envious of. And
we call it the Brad Smith special.
Yeah, thanks Brad Smith. We've mentioned him once before in this podcast. He's a really chill, good smelling guy.
He should be like the other co-host.
We're gonna get a picture of him and pop it up on the screen right now so everybody can see who Brad Smith is. Brad Smith. And what did I get you, Windi? Probably the coolest anniversary gift of all time, if I had to say so.
Yeah. So, got me a switchblade. Tuck that baby in the back part of my pocket. I hate to even announce that because people are going to be knowing I'm packing on, but...
Well, you had to say you was packing it. You just say, hey, it was a cool little piece that you got. Well, now everybody knows.
Well, anyways, if you don't know, you know now. Don't mess with me.
So I got her a switchblade, so I had to teach her how to use it. And literally within 5 minutes of her practicing, she cut her dadgum finger.
I did. But hey, live and learn. Yeah. I'm weaponized now. I'm ready for action.
She's getting good. We got a video of her flinging around and acting like she's stabbing folks.
Take it out, pop it, and then hold it in a fist and go to town.
Good times. So we spent the weekend at the ballpark down in Lake Charles. Our team got their heads beat in on Saturday, so nice anniversary gift from those guys. But Sunday,
anniversary, everybody.
Yeah, Sunday they showed up and played decently well, so that was a good comeback. But here we are, another rainy day in Louisiana.
Rainy day.
And
who would have thunk it?
Yeah, right. We're going to talk about marriage. Since we've made 17 years of wedded bliss, we're going to talk about some things we've learned in the last 17 years.
And then we got only 17 minutes to share it in.
That's right. Well,
there's that serendipity.
That's right. 17 minutes to share. So what do you want to start with? You want to start with the things that we learned not to do, or the things that we learned that worked really well?
Let's do the things that we learned really well, because we can always talk about the things not to do, and people could go and take this advice and try to avoid those things, or the things that actually worked, take them and apply them.
Yeah, well, I want to do both. Which one do you want to start with?
Oh, how about we make this a series?
Yeah, not for our thing. We'll talk about marriage further on, but
okay, we'll break it up into series. That sounds good.
Jesus. So anyway, we're going to talk about what worked for us, things that we learned that worked well, and then things that we learned that didn't work well for you and I.
All right.
So what would be 3 things that you feel worked well for us in marriage, from your perspective?
All right. From my perspective is things that worked really well is you were always sharing the load with me. You always shared the kids' responsibilities, the house responsibilities, everything that, because I'm working full time as well as you are, but you understand that would be unfair if I was responsible for everything at home and with the kids. It would just be a recipe for resentment. You share everything with me. You actually tried to learn my love language. You know, I know. No, but it evolves over the years, you know, and it's cool. It's kind of cliche, the 5 love languages, but, sometimes
it's
love, like I was saying before, is spelt HELP, or love is spelt just listening. Love is spelt, you can see I'm exhausted, and without prompting, you put a load of laundry to wash. That you know.
All right, so number 1 you would say is
share the load.
Share the load. So you've kind of hinted around some things. So give some practical ways, that there's some guys listening right now. What's some practical things that has occurred that's made you say this worked, that you could share? Hey guys, you need to do this. This is why I love Mitch, based on for these reasons for that.
Okay. Here's a number 1 thing. One thing I hate doing in the evening, I hate it with a passion. I'll do it, but I hate it. I hate washing dinner dishes. I just do. It's one of those things I would rather pull off my toenail than to wash these dishes. And you'll cook supper, and then you will wash dishes to allow me to go take a bath and unwind. You will do that.
Winning. You hear that, Frank?
Psychotic Windi will drown out, and the vibrant, I'm ready to talk, ready to relax, ready to enjoy life, Windi will emerge after I've washed my face and and just bathed in myself.
Yep. And I don't want to toot my own horn here, but I'm going to.
Let's toot it.
Because listen, here's the thing. A lot of guys will say, well, I cooked dinner, I helped there, I did my deal. And I probably, at one point in my life, I probably operate in that manner. But here's part of growing and learning. With some of my hair, you keep looking up.
I must be cross-eyed.
One thing that I've learned over the years is what you just said is, even if I cooked dinner, I realized that if I went the extra mile and then did the dishes, it paid dividends in our ability to communicate, talk, and those types of things. So I began to take the extra initiative. Not initially in our marriage, but eventually over time.
Yeah, I think experience built that wisdom you needed to be able to forge ahead with.
So if you're young in your marriage and you're not doing that currently, I'm hinting out and letting you know. Think ahead, gentlemen. This will pay dividends in all areas.
All areas.
You get what I'm saying? So you're picking up what I'm putting down. Cook supper and then do the dishes. Let your wife go relax, take a bath. You're going to be high-fiving me tomorrow when you see me. I promise you. So, all right, awesome. Number 1 thing that works, you says, is we share the load.
Share the load.
Number 2.
I would say that you were able to connect with me on different levels according to where I was in my day to spell love to me. Whether that, like I was saying, it was helping me, it was inspiring me, it was holding me accountable, or it's just wherever I was in that moment to spell love. Now, it was me and my maturity and 17 years of marriage to be able to recognize what that looked like in that moment. Because sometimes we're just so caught up in the moment and the kids and the housework and the work and the busyness of life that we just don't even recognize what it is that you're trying to do.
Okay. So give me some one practical thing that we could really hone in here, how that occurred.
Okay, so this kind of all ties in together. It's just seeing me, feeling the energy I'm putting out, and calling me on it and saying, Windi, is something wrong? You don't look right, you don't seem right. What's going on?
Yeah.
Did something happen today at work? Talk to me.
I got you. So I have the courage to say, if I feel like the vibe's off or I feel like you're frustrated, I have the courage to say, and probably didn't always... Again, this is a learning thing, guys. Like probably early on, I tried
This is like years and years of getting to know each other.
I probably would try to address this early on in a very dick manner. Apologize for my language. That's just, you can't put it any other way. But still trying to accomplish something good.
But basically say, what's your problem?
Yeah, I would say it that way. It took me a lot of years to learn that my goal is to get her to talk, to figure out what's going on so that we can rectify or solve the issue, or at least give her a chance to talk about it and I can just listen. But initially, early on in my marriage, I didn't do that very well. But now I've learned, and probably still at times don't do it well, but I'm getting more consistent at doing it better.
Batting average is rising.
Yeah. So it's really, really good. So really important. And listen, not every time something's bothering her, does she need a solution? That's something else that I needed to learn.
Yes, that's something else that you've learned over the years is when things were bothering me, sometimes I just needed to unload my 30,000 words onto you. I just wanted you to sit there, look me in the eye, and I just wanted to know that you were listening to me. I understand that you're a fixer by nature, but sometimes I didn't want you to fix this. I wanted you to listen as my partner. And sometimes voluntarily giving me that unsolicited advice would just send me spiraling off.
Yeah. So I read it in a book one time. I think the Love and Respect book taught me this.
We're about to tag that.
Yeah.
Into this.
Love and Respect, Frank. That's a great book on marriage, Love and Respect. But Love and Respect taught me to ask this question. I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, but it was essentially, hey, is this something you want me to listen to, or is this something you want me to help you solve? Whenever she goes to tell me.
That's the essence of it.
And so I started asking, I learned how to ask what was bothering her in a kind manner, in a productive manner. And then B, I learned how to then ask her if she just wanted me to listen or ask her if she wanted me to help her solve a problem. And that helped to become even more productive and good for her. Help her process whatever she was dealing with.
But I think the key is just us learning to communicate, because communication is an art. I don't think that that's something everybody's gifted with, especially you young adults getting married, that y'all have grown up on this cell phone and the texting and the emojis. Man, as a person who deals with y'all in customer service, it is hard for y'all to even communicate with me, much less your spouse, on a level that is deep and intimate.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a struggle that the younger generation will have to work twice as hard to overcome, because they've poured so much into a phone screen rather than a face-to-face intimate interaction. But I think our communication is an art that we do when we go to dinner. Different times that there's a rule that we don't take out our phone. There is a no phone rule, but we got all that.
Yeah,
but,
we get way off track.
Yeah,
All right,
but I'm talking about how we got to this place of communication that we are really effective with each other. And so tell me about some of the things that you found.
We said 3. That's 2. You did 2, so we're going to each do 3. Number 1, you said was I help around the house.
You help around, you
share the load. Number 2, you said that I've learned how to approach you and ask what's wrong when the vibe's off and give you opportunity to discuss that. All right, so that's number 2. Number 3 would be?
Number 3 was me looking into myself, realizing it's not always about me and my perspective, that I had to empathize and see things from your perspective sometimes, because when I would do that and I would sit down and really peel back the layers of it, I could see why you were frustrated at something, or why something upset you, or why something brought you joy. To have a deeper understanding of you, always studying you and never stop dating you, because you're ever evolving, ever growing. And if I ever thought I knew you and I had you in the palm of my hand, I really don't, because you're an ever changing person, as you should be.
I'm a very complex human.
Yeah, you are. You're a very complex human.
All right, so reduce that down into a phrase so we can say what it is. What exactly are you saying there? What's the third thing? It is
continually. The most cliche thing is continually dating you, but I would say studying you and understanding you, and
so growing with me.
And growing with you, but really sitting back and not thinking about stuff from my own viewpoint, but really trying to see things from your viewpoint.
Okay.
Because we are different. God's created us as a woman and as a man so different. We're wired completely different. And so I don't ever expect you to see things my way, and I don't ever expect to see things your way 100%. But I believe that when we sit down and try to understand each other, man, it brings such a purity, I guess, a wholesomeness to it.
So seeing things from outside your perspective.
Sure.
Okay, so give me an example of how that's occurred for you.
All right. So lately, I say the last 6 months, that you've brought on a whole lot more responsibility on yourself. And so when you do come home and you're exhausted, and it's really hard for you to talk, or it's really hard for you when I'm trying to talk to you, for you to keep eye contact with me just because of just physical and mental exhaustion, I have to realize that you have poured your cup out all day long for everybody else. You literally are giving me what's left of you. And I have to appreciate that. And I get upset with it because I have to understand that you really are trying. And tomorrow's a new day and you're going to be rested. And I'll just catch you in the morning. Go get you a good night's rest.
Good. Good deals. All right. So number 1, share the load. Number 2, call you on your bullshit. I'm just kidding. Number 2 is just having the courage to discuss and approach you whenever you're feeling out.
Communication is an art, and it's something that should be practiced. You're never going to arrive. It's a continual thing.
And then number 3 is seeing things from a different perspective other than yourselves. So I think those are very good. Very good. So here's my 3.
Good.
Number 1, I think the first thing that really helped us is we practice, and you already hinted at this, we practiced the art of conversation very early on in our relationship, in our marriage.
And I think that like our favorite thing to do is drive. We could drive to New Orleans, we could drive to Panama City Beach. We've got 9 hours and we'll just think of something off the chart. And what do you think about this?
Yeah. But I remember when we first got married and we were living out in the New Orleans area. And the first 6 months of our marriage, we did not get cable TV on purpose. And Wendy thought I was crazy, and she was kind of angry at me. And I said, no, this is going to force us to sit down and talk, and not just, and this was before the whole cell phone. This was before smartphones, folks.
Yeah,
so it wasn't like
media.
It wasn't like we were replacing cable TV with a smartphone. I mean, we had 3 channels, the local channels, and I guess we had the internet, but it wasn't like we carried laptops. We had a desktop, in the spare bedroom. So it wasn't like it is now for you youngins, where media was everywhere.
Very minimal.
So it forced us to practice the art of conversation, and it paid dividends years later in our ability to communicate. And like you even talked about earlier, even to this day, not only are we practicing that, we're teaching our children that. We're very intentional, that we have intentional conversations with them at the house. If we go out to dinner, we do not let them have phones out or us have phones out unless we're having a discussion and we're trying we don't know what the answer is to something.
Ask Dr. Google.
We may Google it, but we do not stare at phones at dinner time, at the house or in a restaurant. The only time we let the kids have a phone at dinner is if we're out with friends and we just look at the phone so we can have conversation with the friends. But
because they're bored out of their mind.
We've practiced the art of conversations and conversation, and it's really, really made our relationship very much more enjoyable and fruitful. So that's been a good thing. So
well, and I think too, we're not the kind that will ever hide. We're not going to try to bake this cake of perfection for our children, that we're perfect, because they have seen us really be like, what? Mm-hmm. What did you say? Well, why did you say it like that? And like have that kind of conversation with each other. We've had it in front of them. We'll never, we don't argue, but we get very clear and concise with each other. Where other people might see it makes them uncomfortable, and they're like, we're so confrontational, like 2 big gorillas going after it. No, that's not the case. Like, it's to teach our kids that it's okay with somebody that you trust and you feel vulnerable with, to be able to get to the root of the issue.
Yeah, I think it's important for them to see conflict in marriage and then conflict resolution.
I've had friends that they said their parents never fought in front of them. And so when they started fighting with their spouse, they had no clue how to freaking handle it. And they thought their marriage was over something that's so
over
nothing.
A burnt dinner.
Over just something benign and trivial.
Yeah. So art of conversation, number 1, is pay dividends. Number 2, and I don't want to make you feel poorly here, but I'm going to include the Lord in this conversation. Number 2 would be that we've been very intentional with our faith, in our marriage, and also with our children. We've, I think, done a decent job. I won't say we've done a great job. We get consistent for a while, then we get inconsistent, but we do a pretty good job, I would say, overall with praying together as a family. Mm-hmm. We do a good job at having spiritual conversation amongst you and I, and then also as a family, in a group setting. I feel like we've done a really good job at teaching our kids about our faith, taking them to church, but not relying on the church. The church is like, a supplement to what we do at home.
Yeah.
And which is what we believe is the way it should be. The church shouldn't be the main course for you, for me, or for the kids. The main course should be what we do at home, our everyday lives, and we go to church as a supplement to help bolster our faith. But I feel like we've done a pretty good job of inviting God, Jesus, into our family, into our marriage, and it's really, really made us be able to overcome some difficult things in life, and also made us better humans, better parents, spouses, made our children better children. So I think it's really worked well.
Yeah.
One way that we practically do that, and one of the things that I'm looking forward to getting back to is, again, it's in the morning times for me when I have the opportunity to have conversation with you. That always exists for the most part, but then also with the kids, where we pray and then have about a 5-minute discussion about some topic of the day. Related to faith and how they can practically live out that. And it's not always like super spiritual things. It's just practical ways that they can be better, or the best versions of themselves. So those are the types of things that we've incorporated into our marriage. Going back to that conversation piece, we talked a lot about our faith and what we're learning and what God is teaching us and challenging us about, but also sharing that with our children. It makes the whole family unit stronger. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the family unit in the difficult times is what keeps things together.
Centered.
Yeah, because I'm not getting this right now. I may be pissed off at Windi, but man, I love what we have. Right? Yeah. I love what we have, and what we have is not worth me ruining it because I'm angry at her right now. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, and I believe because of the things that we've done, has made me love the life and love what we have together. What we have together is better than anything that I could have apart from this. I truly believe that. And that's centered on our faith. I believe that God's best for me is you and those children. And so I don't want to screw that up. I mean, you've tried sometimes, but I'm not trying to screw that up.
Oh.
Just kidding.
No, but we've always had a very strong belief that whatever the outside temptations are, if we were to choose those temptations, we have more to lose than we would have ever had to gain.
Always.
Way more to lose.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean we're perfect by any means, but our faith has definitely kept us centered, and I think gives us an exciting future.
Yep.
Number 3, I believe that has really helped us in our marriage is our kids come second. I'll say second. I'm not going to get God first. And you get what I'm saying. God's always first. We just made that clear. But I don't put the children before you. You don't put the children before me. And that has been huge.
Pivotal.
In helping us have a healthy marriage.
Pivotal.
So many people, I'm not trying to sound condemning or judgmental. I know it's a challenge. It's not easy. But a lot of folks go separate ways because the children drive them apart unintentionally.
I would say marriages dissolve as a result of children worship.
Yeah.
100%. You could see those couples that they elevate their kids above anything else. They elevate their kids above each other. And you can see that. There was a study, there was a hidden camera on the men, on husbands, and the wife was in a room and they interviewed the wife, and a percentage of women, they were asked, what is the most important thing in your life? And these women said, my children are my everything. And then you got to see a split screen of their husbands' faces, and their husbands' faces were deflated and just they kind of just sunk in their chair, because those kids are going to grow up and leave you. You're going to be left with each other.
Yeah.
And your kids will be better for you loving your spouse and putting that marriage priority above anything else. Your kids will be better for it than to grow up being narcissistic little shits.
Yeah.
Because y'all worship these kids.
Yep. And look, not to say we're the perfect parents or have done it perfectly, but we've been intentional. I think that's the key. There's probably times where we've not done it well, but overall, over the course of the last 13 years, We've been very intentional about it, and we had these conversations with one another prior to having children, and have had those conversations along the way, and have had those conversations with the kids. There's been times where Wendy and I are sitting on the couch, and one of those kids will show up, and I'm like, hey, I'm having a conversation with my wife right now. This isn't your time. Go back to your room, and when we're done having our time, then we can give you some time. Like that happens fairly regularly at our house.
You said something that triggered a memory, and I'll tell you, this was a moment for me that I was like, okay. So one of our children one night was being sassy to me, and they talked back, and I didn't think you were even in the house, much less a nearby room. And all of a sudden, I saw that you big silverback gorilla just came and grabbed our kid, got in his face, and said, "What did you say, son? What did you say to my wife? Let me tell you something. Long before she was your mother, she was my wife. And no one will ever speak to my wife in that manner in this house. Do you understand me? Do you understand me?" You know, and he's like, "Yes, sir."
Yeah. So it's just been important, and you've done well. I think a lot of times, and this comes out in different ways, but another way that we've done well with the children is that we've always been on the same page when it comes to discipline.
We're on the same team.
And let me tell you, those little kids are little terrorists, man.
They're manipulative.
They will work you like the best salesman in the world to try to get their way.
They're wired to manipulate you.
Yep.
So whenever one of us disciplines and they went to crying to the other parent, we were intentional in saying, no, daddy just did that to you. You go to your room.
Or mama had a reason for why she just busted your tail. So get on, son. Learn your lesson and be better for it. And not just when in those scenarios, but even now where they'll ask you without me knowing they asked you, then they'll come hit me up.
Oh, that's a big no-no.
That's a lot of that, and we shut that down. If we know that happens, if they go ask her,
the answer's automatically no.
If they go ask her and she said no, and they come ask me and I might have said yeah, well then now the answer is no, and then it's no for the next time too. Since you did what you know you should not be doing.
Manipulating and dividing a relationship over something simple that you know one of your parents said no. Why? There's no reason to go ask the other parent.
Yeah. So putting the spouse above the children has been huge for us, and I think would be huge for those of you maybe who struggle with that. Be thinking about how you can change some of your habits and put your spouse above, and love them and take care of them as number one, and then the children come number two. And look, if you've never done that and it's always been the other way around, it's probably going to be a difficult thing to change, but just because it's difficult doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It means you probably should be doing it. Like the harder something is to accomplish probably means there's a greater reward on the other side. So begin having those intentional conversations with yourself and your children. Don't just suddenly not treat your children as number one without explaining to them what's occurring. That's important.
It'll be confusing.
Involve them in the process. And I want to go a little bit further and say this. Involving our children in the process along with that third one has been huge. Like we involve our children in conversation intentionally because we want them to feel part of the process. We give them the opportunity to say their piece. They don't have the final say, and there's a lot of times we do something differently, but at least we can go back and now explain to them, here's why we made the decision we've made. We've listened to what you said. You've been involved in the process, but ultimately mom and dad are going to make this decision, and here's why we think it's best. So have those conversations, be intentional. I don't know where we are with time. My phone shut down. How are we looking, Frank?
28.
Gee, 28.
Okay.
All right, so this will be a series then.
Yeah, we're going to have to do a series on this.
Man, hopefully this was 28 great minutes.
I told you this a lot of
times. You talk so much. You were talking the whole time. I felt like I barely got anything out.
The only piece of advice I'll give is a book on Amazon you can buy. It's called Love and Respect. The author's name is Emerson.
Frank will have it up on the screen.
Yeah.
He's a genius.
Love and Respect by Emerson. So if you ever go on this crazy cycle with your marriage and you don't know why you're even fighting, you have no idea. It's a thing. It's a 30-year marriage counselor wrote this book, and he's figured it out that the men's number one greatest need is respect. A woman's number one need is love. So sometimes He acts unloving because I am disrespectful. And sometimes I act disrespectful because he's unloving. And the cycle just spins and spins and it spirals out of control. And it talks about how to recognize that within your partner, how to stop that cycle, how to get off the crazy cycle, and then start enjoying your relationship. And it's talking about love and respect. And a lot of these truths in this book will punch you in the mouth. And I'll tell you, if you're today's modern day feminist, you're not going to like the book. I mean, you can continue doing what you're doing and see how that works for you. But if you really, truly want to get on a healthy relationship as God intended with peace and joy, love and respect, it's such a great one.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome book. It's been great for us. Hey, if you found value in anything we said today, please share this podcast with your friends. Check us out at mitchandwindi.com. If you've not liked the Facebook page yet, please do so. No one sent in a question of the day yet, so it's okay. I'm not upset about it, but it feels like our viewership is growing.
I feel like we just need to make up for it.
I'm excited. Well, one day we will. We'll trick them. So check it out. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to continue this conversation next week with the things of what not to do in a marriage. So
no, next week's going to have a special guest.
Well, we're going to have two. We got to continue this discussion about what we not to do in a marriage, and then we'll have the special guest on after that. We'll probably shoot both next week. So, Awesome time. Thanks for checking us out. I'm Mitch. This is Windi. Hope this has been a blessing to you.